Only 44. We've been live for 2.5 hours. I mean, I have been live for 5 hours now. I was streaming on Twitch before this. Anyway, Fate. Leonard's singing sounded like a lullaby as it lightly resounded through the doors and into the winding wooden stairwell. Klein's mind immediately turned torpid. He felt like he saw a silent moonlight and serene rippling lake. Ooh! Wow. His eyelids rapidly turned heavy as if were about to fall asleep standing. I like this. Wait. Amid this instinct sensation, he also felt a strange formless and indifferent focus on his back. It felt like he was wandering the spirit world himself. Damn. Is this how it used to be on drugs? A baffling sense of deja vu suffused as Klein suddenly found his train of thought once again. With his strong spiritual perception and extreme familiarity with cogitation, he barely escaped the influence of the midnight poet. However, he remained serene and could not hardly evoke any emotion. Soon, Leonard stopped singing as he turned his head with a smile. I'm considering asking Captain's permission to apply for a Fena Potter lute. How can there not be how can there not be a accompaniment when singing? I'm just kidding. I can hear them asleep. Oh, he put them asleep. Wow. The black-haired, keen-eyed White Hawk with a poetic vibe took a stride forward and walked onto the door that separated them from the kidnappers and hostage. He suddenly moved his shoulder and threw a punch on the door's lock. Crack. There are no feathers in the novel, yeah. The wooden board around the lock shattered in a muffled manner. This requires precise control. Leonard turned his head and smiled. He then reached his hand into the hole and opened the door. Klein, who had regained consciousness, was not as confident as him. He reached under his armpit, drew his revolver, and turned the cylinder, making sure that he could shoot at a moment's notice. As the door swung back, he saw a man sleeping on a table with a gun by his feet. Another man was rubbing his eyes in a daze while trying to stand up. Bam! Klein slid forward and struck the awakening kidnapper unconscious. Holy shit! Klein planned to enter as well as suddenly sensed something. He turned around, abruptly, and faced the stairwell. Tap, tap, tap. Footsteps were approaching from below. It became clear that something was a hatless man in a brown coat circling the stairwell in his progression towards the third floor while hugging a paper bag of bread. Suddenly he stopped. He saw a gun barrel aiming with him with a metallic cluster. His pupils surveyed a young man dressed in a half-top hat, black formal suit with a bow tie of the same color. It also reflected this cane which rested along the rail and the dangerous revolver. Do not move! Raise your hands! 3, 2, 1! Klein's tone was deep but relaxed. He held the revolver with both hands as he tried to imagine the man as a target from his practice. Amid the dense atmosphere, the man in the brown coat threw a bag of bread and slowly raised his hands. Sir, is this kind of a joke? Has there been a misunderstanding? He stared intently at the finger that Klein had placed on the trigger as he forced a smile. Klein was temporarily unable to determine if he was an accomplice or a neighbor. I think he's a neighbor. But he did not reveal any abnormalities. He said in a deep voice, do not attempt to resist. Someone will determine if it's a misunderstanding in a while. In that moment, Leonard, who had finished handling the kidnappers, walked out and noticed the man in the stairwell, and he said leisurely, so, the kidnappers have another accomplice responsible for buying and delivering food. Upon hearing this, the man's pupils constricted as he suddenly raised his foot and kicked the bag of bread up in an attempt to block Klein's vision. So Leonard knew. This guy was caught. Seemingly unaffected, Klein coldly pulled the trigger like his usual training. Bang! Blood burst out from the man's left shoulder. Jesus! He tumbled on the ground and attempted to escape from the second floor. This is our first fight, by the way, in the novel. It took 44 chapters. Well, I'm excited. I have goosebumps. However, Leonard had already reached his hand toward the handrail before leveraging himself to jump over. With a dull thud, Leonard landed on the man from above. Holy shit, Leonard! He wrestled on him! Wow! The man fainted as Leonard swatted away some of the blood that had splattered on him. He looked up at Klein and chuckled. Nice shooting! I was trying to hit his legs. The corner of Klein's mouth twitched in an indiscernible manner as he caught a whiff of the smell of the blood. Look, let's see. Discovered that despite not having any enchantments to his visual, auditory, or tactile senses after consuming the Seer Potion, he could still see obstructed objects and hear faint footsteps, allowing him to take preemptive judgment. Wow, let's go, Klein. This is very useful. Was it the scope of spiritual perception? Klein nodded as thought as he watched Leonard find a sharp dagger in the accomplice's possession and drag him into the room. With a gun and cane in each hand, sorry. With a gun and cane in each hand, Klein entered the kidnapper's room. He saw Elliot Vickroyd jolt awake from the gunshot as he straightened his body and sat up slowly from a huddled position. Leonard had securely tied up 3 kidnappers with the rope they used against Elliot. Bunched together, they were thrown in a corner. The lack of rope was made up by tearing their clothes. Oh wow. The unconscious man who had been shot in the shoulder was bandaged, but Leonard disdained getting his hands dirty, so he did not help him extinct the bullet. Wow. They don't mutate. That was it? Wow. The man was already shot in the shoulder, but everyone jumped on him. Yeah, poor guy. So, all these events were... you mean donghua, yeah. All these events went by really fast. I feel like this is the only thing that, so far, donghua added extra scenes for. Is this the first case? I think so. Also, I think the donghua was like more beautifully portrayed, even though here we saw Klein also in like a state of like sensing the poem and seeing things. Like, I don't think the old version is bad. I just thought the donghua version was more beautiful, because we saw like the red garden basically. Donghua made it Hollywood. I think they're both good. I like the visual pleasingness of the donghua. I'm with you, Scratcher. I think so, yeah. Also, for newcomers, donghua was legendary. Yeah, true. I really liked it. Anyway, so now we're gonna learn about Bieber, right? Everyone is falling into Ince's hands right now. Both have their charm. Okay, yeah, true. Leonard had securely tied up the 3 kidnappers with a rope they used against Elliot. Bunched together, they were thrown in a corner. The lack of rope was made up by tearing up their clothes. The unconscious man who had been shot in the shoulder was bandaged, but Leonard disdained getting his hands dirty, so he did not help him extract the bullet. Who are you people? Elliot stammered in pleasant delight when he saw the scene before him. Yes, you guessed right. Very precise. The genuflecting Leonard answered casually. What is this? Lower one's body briefly by bending one knee to the ground. Okay. I never expected this bastard to have some humor cells in him. Was that a joke? Was that actually a joke? Lion lowered his towel and said to Elliot, "We are mercenaries hired by your father. You can also call us security personnel." Does that mean that we are 200 pounds richer or Nighthawks? Phew, for real? I have been saved? Elliot said joyfully without daring to make any movements. The Baron that he had suffered quite harshly in the short few hours of being kidnapping victim. He did not have the kind of rashness someone his age normally would have. Leonard stood up and said to Klein, "Go downstairs and find some patrolling cops. Get them to inform the tobacco merchant. I do not wish to walk out here with a child and 4 idiots like a kidnapper." Klein, who was wondering about the aftermath, nodded. He put away his revolver, picked up his cane, and walked to the staircase. As he went down the stairs, he had a nagging feeling that he had forgotten something. In addition, he heard Leonard say to Elliot, "Don't be nervous. You will be soon see your father, mother, and your older brother. Clee, why don't we play a round of Quint?" So what was Klein forgetting here? As he went down, he had a nagging feeling that he had forgotten something. About the kidnappers or what? What's Orv? Klein held back his laughter and walked out into the street. With the help of pedestrians, he found 2 patrolling policemen. He did not use his badge and identification as member of the Special Operations Department. Instead, he used his identity as a professional security company and recounted the happenings factually. Oh, that's good. As for him holding a gun, he was not worried at all. He had received an all-purpose weapon permit the day before yesterday. His application was accelerated by going through internal channels. The two policemen exchanged looks and one of them left to gather reinforcements and inform the Vicroy family. The other policeman followed Klein to the kidnapper's room. After waiting for more than 40 minutes, Leonard signaled to Klein while the policeman was not paying attention. Klein was to sneak out the room with him. Trust me, heading to the police station is an extreme waste of time. Let's leave first. The Nighthawk with the poetic bearing explained with a relaxed look. Since Leonard was making it clear that he will take any responsibility for any repercussion, he did not retort and followed in tow. Almost 5 minutes later, a few carriages rushed to the building where the kidnappers were. The old butler, Klee, disembarked with his portly master, Vicroy. Up to this moment in time, he was still in daze. He found it incredulous that news would come so fast. It felt like a dream. Suddenly, he heard a crisp snap as he turned around. Okay. A two-wheeled carriage drove past with its windows open. The black-haired and green-eyed Leonard had snapped his fingers again. Oh my god. After passing by Vicroy's carriage, Leonard closed the window, turned around and looked at Klein. He extended his right hand and smiled. It's a pleasure working with you. I don't think we're on that good terms. Klein politely shook his head. He didn't expect the kidnapping case to be resolved so quickly. Harley could do was marvel at the capabilities of Beyonders, even though he was just half-assed Sequence 9 Beyonder. He was able to do many inconceivable things. It's a celebrated gesture of peace among aristocrats at their clash of swords, explained Leonard with a smile. I know, Klein had many aristocratic classmates, true. He looked outside the window and said with a frown, shouldn't we confirm that Mr. Klee, if he believes that the police rescued Elliot, our commission will be halved? Total of £100. There was no doubt about their providing of the kidnapper's location from their meeting from before. True. I don't mind it. To us, money isn't important, said Leonard with a shrug. Don't mind it. It's to us, money isn't that important, said Leonard with a shrug. It's very important to me, Klein forced a polite smile. Many poets died early from poverty. Leonard chuckled. That's funny, though. I believe Elliot would not lie on this matter. I can tell that he has still some of his innocence left in him. However, you will not get much of £200 commission either. True. How much would they get? Asked Klein immediately. As for unspoken rule that always been half of the commission will be handed to Mrs. Oriana as additional funding for the team. The remaining will be split among members. A pity you aren't a formal member. You only get about 10% of the remaining half. So £10? That's still so good, no? That's so fucking good. Holy shit. £10 isn't bad either. Klein pretended to feel the pinch as he asked. Aren't you worried that the kidnappers will realize that they were under influence of a Beyonder's powers after they wake up? They will not suspect anything. They will only believe that the weather was good and very conducive for sleeping, leading them to dozing off. They will even believe the song existed only in their dreams. This is something we have verified before, answered Donald very confidently. He said, instead it's your demon hunting pullers that might arouse suspicion. Of course, you being a queer who enjoys mysticism would be a perfectly reasonable explanation. Friendly fire? I see. Klein was relieved. He just kept feeling like he had forgotten or overlooked something. That's funny. After returning to Suitland Street, Klein did not wait for Klee's arrival. He strolled to Welch's place and took a different route home. On the way, he bought some beef and olives for dinner. Olives! Damn. This meal was enjoyable as always, with the same three siblings chatting idly. However, there was an additional visitor. Ooh, who is this? He was a worker responsible for collecting 1 penny for the gas meter. Okay. The evening grew dark as siblings bade each other good night and returned to their rooms. Klein was sleeping soundly when he was suddenly awoken by something familiar outside. He opened the door in puzzlement and arrived outside and burned them that no one stayed in. What is this? What is this? He pushed open the mottled door and saw a great desk. There was a notebook on the table and its cover was made of hard paper. It was completely black in color. A baffling sense of deja vu arose in him as he walked over and opened the notebook. Then he flipped open. Wait. Then he flipped open. Then page he flipped open was of a picture of someone dressed in gorgeous clothes, a splendid headdress. The fool! Beneath the fool was lying in Hermes. Everyone will die, including me. Horror gripped Klein's heart as suddenly realized the corner of the fool's mouth was curving up. Oh my god, what the fuck? Oh my god. Oh my god, what is a nightmare? He's having a nightmare. But that's a scary fucking nightmare, dude. Imagine. 100% a nightmare. Wow. Ooh, heavy goosebumps, me too, man. Sheesh. 45. He sat up in shock as he saw crimson moonlight penetrate his curtains. He saw his bookshelf and desk at the silhouette of his own bedroom. He realized that he had a nightmare. Yeah, as a seeker he knew what dreams typically portend, therefore he began to seriously search through his recollections. Blind froze up when he did because he knew what he had missed out on today. While he was immersed in Leonard's singing, he had sensed a formless and indifferent focus on his back. The feeling of being observed felt different from the usual cogitation or experience he had from using spirit vision. It gave him a sense of déjà vu. According to Captain Dunn, once a feeling of déjà vu aroused in him, it probably means... Clark suddenly sat straight and confirmed the feeling. Yes, it's that notebook, that Antigonus family's notebook. Holy shit! Let's go! I mean, like, he's having those dreams because he's a seer. Now, one of my theories is that the seer pathway is actually the full pathway. And that's why he keeps seeing the full tarot card, right? Or is it to do with the murmurings and the person who tries to contact him through Fornazis and Flegrea, who I think is Saratul. But I guess we'll find out that later, right? But the thing is, he got reminded of the Antigonus family notebook. I don't think that's a coincidence, but it's nothing to do with ints. Wow, what a chapter. 45. Let's go. Either I read fast, or I'm reading out loud and discussing at the same time. Right? So I also Google different words. I discuss with the chat. I make theories. I talk about what I read. That's why it's long, right? And reading in your mind, I can read my mind like 3 times faster than I can read out loud. And there are like few minutes breaks every like few hours. The Antigonus notebook is in the apartment across the kidnappers. Although it was very coincidental, Klein believed that this initiation was correct. He immediately got out of bed and rapidly changed out of the old clothes he usually wore to bed. He picked up a white shirt beside him and straightened it on, quickly buttoning from top to bottom. 1, 2, 3. He suddenly realized that he was missing buttons. What? The left and right sides did not seem to match. On careful look, Klein realized that he had made a mistake buttoning the first button, causing the shirt to warp. He shook his head helplessly before taking a deep breath and slowly breathing out, using some of his cogitation techniques to restore his calm. Damn, he's panicking hard. After putting on his white shirt and black trousers, he barely managed to wear his underarm holster steadily. He pulled out the revolver he hid under his soft pillow and holstered it. Without time to tie a bow tie, he trapped his informal suit on, and with a hat and cane in each hand, he walked to the door. After putting on his half-top hat, Klein gently twisted the door handle and walked into the corridor. Okay, so we're going right now. He carefully closed his bedroom wooden door and sneaked downstairs like a thief. I have that image in my head, by the way. He sneaked downstairs like a thief. He used the fountain pen and paper in the living room to leave a note informing his siblings that he had forgotten to mention he had to be early for work today. The moment he was out the door, Klein felt a cool breeze and his entire being calmed down. So did he get that feeling when he was in that house? He said he forgot something, right? Um, did he have the feeling that the notebook was there? And he's like, oh, I'm forgetting something, but I don't know what this feeling is. And then he had a dream, and it saw it in a dream that the Antigone's notebook is over there. Ah. Trin is a sibling? Yeah. The street in front of him, at the moment, he had forgotten to mention that he had to be early for workday. The moment he was out the door, Klein felt a cool breeze, and his entire being calmed down. The street in front of him was dark and silent without any pedestrians. Only the gas lamps illuminated the streets. Klein took out his pocket watch from his pocket and snapped it open. It was just 6 in the morning, and the crimson moonlight had not completely faded away. However, there was a hue of sunrise over the horizon. He was just about to seek out an expensive for hire carriage when he saw two four-wheeled trackless carriage approaching him. There were public carriages this early in the morning, and was puzzled as he went forward and waved for it to stop. Good morning, sir. The carriage driver stopped the horses skillfully. The ticketing officer beside him had his hand to his mouth while yawning. To Sutland Street, Klein scooped out 2 pennies from the pocket and 4 halfpence. 4 pence, the ticketing officer replied without any hesitation. After paying for the ride, Klein got onto the carriage and found it empty. It excluded a clear loneliness amid the dark night. You are the first one, said the carriage driver with a smile. So this is like the first carriage, maybe. The 2 brown horses widened their pace as they proceeded briskly. To be honest, I never imagined there to be a public carriage so early in the morning. Klein sat near the carriage driver and made idle chatter to divert his attention and relax his tense mind. The carriage driver said in a self-deprecating manner, from 6 in the morning to 9 at night, but all I earn is £1 a week. Jeez. Wow. That's little. Gosh. Are there no breaks? Inquired Klein in a battlement. We take shifts to rest once a week. Wow, really? Take shifts to rest once a week? The carriage driver's tone turned heavy. The ticketing officer beside him added, we are in charge of plying the streets from 6 to 11 in the morning. Following that, we have lunch and an afternoon break. Near dinner times is 6 in the evening. We replace our colleagues. Even if we do not need rest, the 2 horses will need it. True. If it wasn't anything like that in the past, there was an accident that should not have happened. Due to fatigue, a carrier driver lost control of his carriage and toppled in. Other than us having shifts. They didn't even not have shifts back then. That's crazy. Those bloodsuckers could never become this kind so suddenly otherwise. The carriage driver scuffled. Damn. I mean, the labor laws are really tough right now. And Klein earned £10 on a single mission. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, sheesh. We need labor laws. I know it's a Victorian setting, kinda, so. Under the illumination of dawn, the carriage drove towards Sutland Street and picked up 7 to 8 passengers on the way. After Klein was less tense, he did not converse further. He closed his eyes and recalled the experience from yesterday, hoping to notice if he had forgotten anything. By the time the skies were bright, when the sun was fully up, the carriage finally arrived at Sutland Street. Klein pressed his hat with his left hand and briskly jumped off the carriage. He quickly jumped into 36 Sutland Street and arrived outside Blackthorn Security Company as they're going up the flight of stairs. The door was still closed and yet to open. Klein took out the ring of keys by his waist and found the corresponding pass key and inserted it into the keyhole and twisted it. He pushed forward as the door slowly opened. He saw a black-haired, green-eyed Leonard Mitchell sniffing at a recently popular cigarette. To be honest, I prefer cigars. You seem to be in a rush, the poet-like Nighthawk asked in a relaxed and cozy manner. Where's Captain? Klein asked instead of answering. Leonard pointed at partition. He's in the office as an advanced place. He only needs 2 hours of sleep in a day. I believe it's portion those factory owners of bankers would like the most. True. Klein nodded and quickly passed through the partition. He saw that Don Smith had opened the door to his office and he was standing at its entrance. What's the matter? Dressed in a black trench coat, he held a cold... What's the matter? Dressed in a black trench coat, he held a cold inlaid cane with a solemn and stern expression. The feeling of deja vu came to me. It should be the notebook, the Anticon's family notebook. Klein tried too hard to make this answer clean and logical. Oh, so it wasn't because, you know, let's say the person who was whispering to Klein made him see it. It was just because he remembered. Hello, Merlin Hermes. How are you? Where was that? Don Smith's expression did not have any obvious changes. However, Klein's intuition told him that clear and invisible stir had happened in him. This was possibly a flash of a spirit or a change in his emotion. It's at the place down on the nice stay at the hostage yesterday, opposite of kidnapper's room. I didn't notice it back then until I had dream and received a revelation. Klein did not conceal anything. From the looks of it, I missed out on making the huge contributions. From the looks of it, I missed out making huge contributions. Leonard, who had followed in the operation, chuckled. Don nodded slightly as he instructed with a solemn expression. Get Kenley to replace old Neil watch of the armory. Let old Neil and Fry come with us. Okay. How are you doing, Merlin? Fraudnard. Not Fraud Leonard, Fraudnard. Leonard stopped acting frivolous, as he immediately informed Kenley and Fry, who were in Nighthawk's recreation room. One of them was a sleepless and the other was a corpse flutter. So this is the first time we actually talk to Kenley and Free. At least we see or read Klein talking to them, right? We haven't seen it before. 5 minutes later, the two-wheeled carriage that came under the restriction of the Nighthawks began driving down the sparse streets in the morning. Leonard wore a feather hat, a shirt, and a vest. I can picture him in my head, dude. I stood in the carriage driver. He stood in as the carriage driver, lashing out the whip from time to time, and he got a crisp crack. Inside the carriage, Klein and Old Neil sat on the side, facing them were Don Smith and Fry. Corpse Collector's skin was so white it looked like it either had not been under the sun in a very long while, or he had a severe blood deficiency. Yeah, Corpse Collectors do look like that. He looked to be in his 30s with a black hair and blue eyes. He had high nose bridge and his lips were very thin. He had a cold and dark demeanor and had a faint smell from often touching corpses. Jesus. Oh my god. Now Leonard is a fanboy, that voice fits perfectly, yeah. Repeat the situation again in detail. Don adjusted the collar of his black trench coat. Klein stroked the hanging topaz in his sleeve as he began from the mission commissioning under the dream. By the side, Old Neil chuckled. Your fate seems to be entwined with that Anticon's family notebook. I never expected you to meet it in such a manner. That's right, isn't this too much of a coincidence? Thankfully, Leonard just mentioned that there was no indication of hidden factions of mysterious powers at play. Yeah, Leonard can mention that, doesn't mean it's true. At play from the preliminary investigations of Elliot's kidnapping was slowly a crime motivated by money. Otherwise, I would really suspect if someone had deliberately arranged for this to happen. Klein found the situation rather curious. The C word. Coincidence. It was too coincidental. Don did not express his ideas as he was deep in thought. Likewise, Corpse Collector Fry maintained his silence in his black trench coat. By the way, I just wanna say something. Oh, hello, Stammer. I just wanna say something. Right? I have finished the donghua, as you all see. I am having so much fucking fun. I just can't imagine how much fun are we gonna have when Volume 2, I'm gonna start reading from Volume 2, because then we are completely blind, right? And then we're gonna be taking notes of everything, dude. Oh my god, I can't wait. The Volume 2, how many were there? 7 volumes? Volume 2 to Volume 7, it's gonna be a legendary arc for me on YouTube, man. I don't know. It's gonna be so peak. It was too coincidental. Don did not express his ideas. Yeah, I read that. Only when the carriage stopped at the building mentioned by Klein was the silence broken. 8 volumes? Ooh, even better, man. Even better. I thought there were 7. Oh, wow. Let's go up, Klein. You and old Neil walk behind. Be careful, very careful. Don got off the carriage and pulled out a strange revolver with a clearly long and thick barrel. He stuffed it into his right pocket. Alright, I did not dare take point. After Leonard found someone to watch the carriage, the 5 Beyonders walked orderly into the building with very light footsteps. They arrived at the 3rd floor. Is this the place? Leonard pointed at the apartment opposite of the kidnappers. Klein tapped his lapella twice and activated his spirit vision. In this state, his spiritual perception was enhanced again. He found the door familiar as he had once entered it before. Yeah, he was giving the book to Bieber, right? Yeah, could be. Other people are mad about that. Other people are saying that the weather was too obvious. Yes, an affirmation. Old Neil was also activated his spiritual perception, and after observing carefully, he said, "There's no one inside, nor are there any spiritual claws of magic." Corpse Collector Fry added with his harsh voice. Wait, first time voicing Fry. Let me think. There aren't any evil spirits. I feel like Fry would be like very monotone, right? There aren't any evil spirits. You will see many spiritual bodies, including evil spirits and restless wraiths, even without activating his spirit vision. Leonard took a step forward and, like yesterday, punched the door's lock. Bam! This time, not only did the surrounding wood shatter, even the door lock flew and fell noisily to the ground. Klein seemed to feel invisible seal instantly vanish. Immediately following that, he caught a whiff of an intense stench. A rotting corpse. Oh, it's gonna be Bieber's mom. Freud described coldly. He did not appear to suffer from nausea. Don reached out his black-gloved right hand and pushed open the door slowly. The first thing that he saw was a chimney. For early July, there was abnormal heat emitting the room. In front of the chimney was a rocking chair. Sitting on it was an old woman dressed in black and white. Her head hung low. Damn. Feel bad a little bit. The corpse was good looking and donghua. Ayo, what do you mean good looking? It was obvious, but it did not create interest in donghua viewers. Her body was abnormally large. Her skin was blackish green and swollen. It felt like she would explode from simple broth, spewing a foul rotting stench from within, as maggots and her other parasites squirmed between her flesh, blood and rotting juices, clothes and wrinkles. They appeared like points of light and spirit vision. But they seemed to cling close to an extinguished darkness. Pa, pa. The woman's eyeballs dropped on the floor and rolled a few times, leaving behind a yellowish brown streak. Klein felt disgusted as being unable to tolerate the putrid stench any longer. He bent over and puked. Jesus Christ, dude. And that his own mom? It was. Bieber's mom, dude. Damn, I actually feel sick reading that. Anyway, so this sequence, the novel went differently, where after saving Elliot, they actually went back home, right? And it came to Klein a dream, and then it went to check out Bieber. Or maybe it wasn't different, right? No, it wasn't different. I think it was the same. Yeah, it was the same. I think, but it was more detailed in the novel. And his first fight, also, I think it was before this, or was it in this one? No, before this, was also here, and I was loving it. What else are we gonna talk about before I jump into? I guess we're gonna now be tracking down Bieber, which introduced to the artifact 2079, I think. Was it 2709? Someone can confirm. The Anticonus clown puppet, which is ironic, by the way, because clown. Anyway, let's jump into 46. Portrait. It was same in donghua. Yeah, okay. That was disgusting, bro. That description was disgusting. 1 second, chat. Also, freakiness, disgusting things. Wait, okay. Portrait. Klein squatted there, vomiting involuntarily. He was soon done with his puking since he did not eat breakfast. At that moment, a tin-colored square flask that looked like a cigar box appeared in front of him. No, what the fuck? Someone gave it to him. The mouth which had lost its stopper emitted a mixture of smells akin to tobacco, disinfectant, and mint leaves. It cleared up Klein's nose and rejuvenated him. The pungent smell continued to linger, but Klein no longer felt nauseous. He soon stopped vomiting. He traced the tiny flask up and saw a pale hand that did not seem to be belonged to a member of the living. He saw the mouth of a black trench coat sleeve and saw corpse collector Fry with his cold and dark bearing. Bro, he looks like a corpse. Thank you. Klein recovered completely and with his eyes on his knees, he stood back up. Fry nodded without any expression. It'll be fine once you are used to it. Right? Fry will have a monotone voice, right? He put back the flask stopper and put it into his pocket and turned around, walking to a highly decomposed corpse. Without gloves, he began examining the old woman. As for Don Smith... Without gloves! As for Don Smith, and Leona Mitchell, they paced slowly around the room, occasionally touching table surface or newspapers. O'Neill pinched his nose and stood outside the door, grumbling in a muffled voice. Seriously, gross. I'm going to request for additional pay this month, of course. That's funny. Don turned his head over and touched the wall beside the chimney with his gloved right hand. While doing so, asked Klein, does this look familiar? Klein held his breath and constructed a silver pocket watch in his mind to calm down. With him already in spirit vision state, immediately felt different. The scene that came from the deepest recess of his memories flashed past his eyes. Chimney, rocking chair, table, newspaper, the rusty nails on the door, the tin cans inlaid with silver. The tins were dark and tall like documentary from Earth. However, it was even more blurry and illusory. Damn. Seeing like a flashback. That's so like interesting. Like in a text. Oh my god, can you stop? What did I do? Flash past his eyes. The scenes were dark and tall like a documentary. Yeah. The scene quickly stacked against the Klein was seeing, the feelings of deja vu and having been here before presented themselves clearly. An illusory and ethereal scream seemed to pass through invisible walls. Hornazis, Flagrea, Hornazis, Flagrea, Hornazis, Flagrea. Oh, Jesus Christ. Damn, that's scary though. Okay, again, Hornazis is a mountain range where the nation of Evernight was, and Flagrea we don't know. It's probably a place or a person or a thing or a god. We don't know. This a little familiar. Klein answered honestly, while his brain felt a stabbing pain. Thankfully, he quickly tapped his glabella twice. Hornazis. The Hornazis mountain range that appeared in original Klein's diary. That his content was deciphered from the Antiqual Summer notebook. The memories were very similar to one of the previous ones, involved the word Hornazis in this form of enticement. By the way, I think Klein should go to Hornazis, but everyone else have told Klein that, oh, do not follow the murmurings, right? The memories were very similar to on the previous ones, yeah. Klein was gripped by shocked not dare, as he did not dare think deeper, afraid that he would place himself on a trajectory of losing control. Gunn nodded slightly and walked to a cupboard. He suddenly reached out his hand and pulled open its wooden door. The bread inside was moldy, and there were about 7 grey, stiff, dead rats. Oh my god, Jesus Christ. Leonard, go downstairs to get patrolling cops and explain the situation here, instructed Dunn. Alright, Leonard turned and left the apartment. Following that, Dunn opened the door to the 2 other bedrooms and did not carefully search. After being certain that there were no clues as well as any sign of the Anticonus family notebook, Fry also stood up. He wiped his hands with a white handkerchief he brought along with him and said, "The time of death was more than 5 days ago. There are no external injuries, nor are there any clear signs that it was a result of beyond his powers. The exact cause of death will require a post-mortem." So his body was bigger? Her body was bigger? Like expanded? But was it just because of gases? Or what? Because no beyond their powers involved. It was because the Antigonus notebook, right? The Antigonus notebook spared some corruption. Apart from, we know that also Antigonus notebook can like enhance artifacts, sealed artifacts. For example, the clown 2079. Maybe I'm saying it wrong, but yeah. Apart from corpse, everything else is normal. Wait, did you discover anything? Don turned to look at old Neil and Klein. You were no longer in spirit vision, and Sage shook their heads in unison. Apart from the corpse, everything else is normal. Actually, no, there was no invisible energy sealing the apartment in the beginning. As you know, there usually be a similar process when we use ritualistic magic. Old Neil thought for a few seconds before adding. Don was just about to say something when he looked outside the door. A few seconds later, Klein and old Neil sensed something and turned to look at the stairwell. A few seconds later, faint footsteps grew louder and Leonard walked up with a policeman. The policeman's expression changed once he caught a noxious smell. He immediately cooperated with his colleague from the Special Operations Department and began knocking on the doors of the residents on the second floor to gain an understanding of the situation on the third floor. Okay. A moment later, the corporal with two silver chevrons looked up the corpse on the rocking chair. I wanna see Bitch again. You guys remember Bitch? Moments later, the corpse of the two, yeah, Katie Stefania Bieber, between 55-60. Bieber was that old? Widow has rented, the mom's name was Katie, okay. Has rented this apartment with her son, Ray Bieber, for more than 10 years. Ray Bieber is younger than. Her husband was formerly a gem artisan. Her son is about 30 years old and is single. He inherited his father's trade and earns about £1.15 solely a week. According to their neighbors, they have not seen in more than a week. He has not been seen in more than a week. Or them. Guys, stop chatting stop typing. I'm spoiling. If don't think about it, guys. Okay? Don't fall for corruption. Don't spoil. Before the policeman continued, Klein already knew the critical point that followed. Missing, to be more precise, it was unknown where Ray Bieber was gone to. The ancient notebook could very well be on him. Yeah, a picture of Ray Bieber. Then looked at the police officer. He was acting as the role of a high-ranking inspector. No, Shin is telling guys saying spoilers. I'm not reading your conversations, so I don't know if anyone actually is spoiling. I'm just warning everyone else, you know. So I don't know if you're spoiling or not. Probably not. I don't know, but yeah. If you were spoiling, you would have been banned. So I'm guessing you're not. Anyway. However, he was not really acting since he was indeed a high-ranking inspector on the police department roster. His salary and various allowances were also paid according to his rank. Of course, it did not include his salary from the church. The police officer shook his head nervously and said, I'm not sure. I'll have to return to the station to search for it. It's not typical for us to have pictures of every single person. Got it. Continue questioning the residents on the first floor. Asked them in detail. Don gave the orders. As he watched the police officer leave, he closed the door and turned to old Neil. I'll leave the rest to you. If not, we'll have to make all the residents sleep and obtain Ray Bieber's looks. Yeah, I don't really trust sketches based on well-below descriptions. So we are literally, if we don't get the picture, we're gonna literally enter their dreams. So So yeah, invade their dreams. Old Neil noted he took out a few thumb-sized bottles from a pocket in his black classic robe and scattered liquids in particular order. Immediately following, he pulled out a clump of powder and scattered it in a circle around him. Strangely, a biting smell spread and was not influenced by the nauseating smells in the room. He can also suddenly notice that there was an invisible force field around him. Oh, I see what they're doing. Separate with him the environment and everyone else. It was like a room in its previous state. It's a barrier. Old Neil half closed his eyes and lips mumbled. Guys, in chat. Coincidence. Calm down. Old Neil half closed his eyes and his lips mumbled a soft and indescribable incantation. Without being prepared, Klein vaguely heard the words, Goddess, God, oh, I'm old. Goddess, give me strength. We look forward to the protection of the night. Sudden wind tore through the windows and blew up the powder. Klein's heart quaked suddenly as he felt goosebumps all over him. He found it difficult to describe. A terrifying smell that made him afraid of looking directly spread rapidly. Sheesh. He was confused. In the donghua, they just had a picture, right? In the donghua, they just had a picture of Frey Bieber slurring so hard. Only slur I can say, by the way. Not that I want to say other slurs, I'm just saying. Also, I can say clanker. You guys hate clanker? No, okay, I want to stop. I'm sorry. It's going too far. He was confused as he then stopped, unable to relax. It felt true he had plunged into a state similar to what one would have after working on a highly advanced mathematical problem. So your head exploding. Suddenly, old Neil's eyes opened, his eyes pitch black. He took out fountain pen from his pocket and began drawing on a piece of scrap paper. Oh, that's so cool! He was so fast that his entire body was trembling. Oh my god, that's scary and cool! What the fuck? Klein focused his gaze and saw a face with recessed eyes and a tall nose breathed rapidly appear. Jeez! When the natural girly short hair was done, old Neil wrote a single line beneath the portrait. Black hair, deep blue eyes. Left of his mouth is fully ceramic tooth implant. Pada! The fountain pen in old Neil's hand fell onto the paper as his body convulsed a few times. This is the image of Ray Bieber, according to what's left in my room. Left in the room, old Neil whispered as the colors of his eyes restored rapidly. That's so cool, dude. Oh my god. Damn. Old Neil, like, I'm guessing he was writing like this, and like his eyes were closed, and he's like imagining writing at the same time. That's so cool. Then he turned back to his original spot and slowly circled it. The invisible force field that isolated things immediately dissipated in the form of a breeze. Praise the lady! Old Neil tapped his chest in 4 spots, forming a shape of the crimson moon. Oh wow. Klein's taut nerves relaxed as he made more acute observations. He discovered that there was nothing special about Ray Bieber's facial features. He had a relatively mild bearing. The only thing was that his philtrum sagged clearly. What's a philtrum? Philtrum, vertical groove between the base of the nose and the border of upper lip. Oh, really? Oh. I will use that to draw doujins. What did bro just say? Holy shit, though. You're gonna be rich. Alius Townsend wrote seeking. He picked up the portrait and found male clothes in the bedroom and spread them onto the ground. I know, right? People acting up in the chat. Don Leon and old Neil did not stop him as they watched him place the black cane about his clothes and portrait. Fry was silent as always. Klein's eyes turned from brown to black as he finished his not recitation. How do I pronounce this again? I'm sorry.
Recitation.
Recitation. Only to release his script, the black cane stood silently like it was embedded in the ground. Ray Bieber's location. Klein silently repeated to himself again. With the sound of humming wind, the cane fell down but kept chanting directions while falling. Finally, it began spinning in slight circles. Without any external help, the black cane stood stably again. Klein repeated a few times with the same outcome. All he could do was shake his head at Don and old Neil. A strange power was interfering with his divination. Interesting. Don took off his black glove and said to Leonard and Klein, "Take Ray Bieber's portrait and inquire the residence for a final confirmation. Following that, we will issue a warrant of arrest against him for the murder of his mother." Alright. Klein took his cane and bent down to pick the portrait. After the neighbors confirmed that the portrait was indeed Ray Bieber, Don instructed Leonard and the police officer to finish the procedures at the station. And strange power. Is it? Are you a sea urchin? Yes. What did I want to say? Was it because of the feather? was it written that Klein will struggle with divination and finding Ray Bieber until it's the right time or something like that. He and Fry headed to a few bars in Tingen to seek help via other means. Klein and Old Neil returned to Blackthorn Security Company on public carriage. It was not even 8 by the time they arrived. Roseanne had not even clocked in. After closing the door, Klein cocked his head at Old Neil and, hoping to learn and answer his questions, asked him, where would I send the Antigone summer notebook to Ray Bieber's home? This was completely in a different direction from Iron Cross Street where Welch stayed. Old Neil walked on the sofa and chuckled. Oh, isn't that obvious? Who knows what powers in the notebook you invoke? Maybe you did some or the Antigonus, maybe not. Some prescribed ritual out of curiosity and ended up provoking a strange existence that you should not have. The motive of this existence was to have the notebook sent to Ray Bieber and sever all clues to prevent anyone from discovering it. Yeah, true. Therefore, apart from you who were selected, Welch and Niner committed suicide. Regarding you, to be frank, I still have no idea how you survived. It's just like how he didn't die at the end of season 1. The Grey Fog. So my question now is, did Klein have the Grey Fog before transmigration, or the Grey Fog caused the transmigration the same time when Klein got the Grey Fog powers? Interesting. I would like to know too, Klein sat down as well as he deliberately replied with a wry smile. I've also thought of a lot of guesses you have of the proceedings. However, there's one thing I don't understand. Why did I have to hand the notebook to Ray Bieber? Also, we know that... I want to talk about this as well. We know that Roselle is 100% a transmigrator because of Chinese letters. That confirms it. Now, did he have something similar to a Grey Fog? Right? Because if he did have, what if Klein as a person, what if it's a reincarnation of Roselle and Shaw got migrated into, like, Shaw got transmigrated but also reincarnated as Roselle? Fuck, I'm cooking shit. I think I'm cooking nothing here, but I think it's highly plausible that if transmigration is behind the Grey Fog, that means Roselle also had the Grey Fog. Let's forget about the reincarnation bit, by the way. Let's just forget about that. That's just another guess I threw in there. So, what's the end game? Is the end game getting to godhood? Why do we have the Grey Fog? Oh, the mysteries, man. It's filling my brain. I feel like Sean Mysteries right now. Sheesh. Wish we could answer, yeah. Jesus. I feel like the Grey Fog is something and transmigration is something we're gonna find out at the end of Volume 8, right? Or maybe people reading Koi, they haven't found out yet, because isn't Koi airing? O'Neill shrugged and said, perhaps his life path number 1 matches... What? His life path number? Life path number was proposed by Pythagoras, which is established from the date of birth and describes the nature of one's journey to life. Oh, interesting. Go is finished? Oh, really? When was it finished? Let's see if you cooked. I don't know. Is Cuttlefish writing something new now or what? Matches the requirements, or maybe... So the life path number is... It's not like a real factual thing, right? Perhaps life path number matches the requirements, or maybe it's none of the last remaining ascendants of the Antigonus family. True, good question, Old Neil. In short, there are too many possibilities, and why the notebook was sold to Dingen City would have similar reasons. Cuttlefish hated writing a sequel? What the fuck? Oh! What do you think of... oh my god, I cooked! What do you think of Lord of Mysteries prequel? And it's gonna be like Roselle's story. Sorry. Oh, Jesus Christ. I believe it's Descended Reason. It's a descended reason. I suddenly felt enlightened before his side. Unfortunately, did not discover immediately, and Ray Bieber and that notebook have vanished. O'Neill laughed. This is something that Ton has to worry about. As you, it's something good. Why you say so? Klein frowned in puzzlement. Interesting. You know most of the story? True, true. What about like Lord of Mysteries sequel in the first, Lord of Mysteries prequel in the first or second epoch? Hate Rosell? Damn. Let's say, my theory also is Rosell and Klein are the two transmic creators we know of. What if there are more of them out there in the first few epochs, but we don't know their names or anything about them? Anyway, great chapter, by the way. Other mysteries, thinking about stuff in this chapter. Also, Klein is questioning a lot. I like that. Learned about Ray Bieber and his mom. He basically killed his mom. So Ray Bieber is definitely under the influence of the Antigonus notebook, which spreads corruption, I'm guessing. That's what people like to say, like spread corruption, right? And I'm guessing in the next episode or next chapter, we're gonna get out the sealed artifact 2079, I think its name was, to track down Bieber, so let's see. Delete that? Someone spreading corruption in the comments, or what? 47. All Neil's lack of money. Holy shit, what a title, guys. Oh, this is gonna be absolute cinema. Old Neil rubbed his temple and said, I believe we have general idea why there are you engaged in a mass suicide. That notebook is also now perpetually in Ray Bieber's hands. Furthermore, the matter has already been exposed. Regardless of whether you are alive or dead, it will hardly influence any subsequent developments. I believe that the surreptitious existence or mysterious power that caused all of this will not pay you any special attention. It's just like how you would not pay attention to the ants on the ground, as long as you do not try to make him recall you. Jeez. And our arrest warrant for Ray Bieber. I will quickly reach the secret order. They will also be able to guess that it's related to the Antigonus family notebook. Wait, I have to lock in for a second here. I can't do a voice. Believe me, for a secret organization that has been in existence for more than 1,000 years, has many channels of information. Therefore, their focus will be diverted into Ray Bieber's whereabouts. In a bid to find the notebook before us, they will not, nor is it possible for them to harass, stalk, or deal with you. Lad, congratulations on stepping out from the shadows of the past. What follows will be a brand new journey filled with sunlight. Damn! I know that when he heard that she said happy and a relieved manner. I hope so. I mean, the first paragraph. Yeah, I mean, interesting what happened, you know? I respect you, but don't start touching him yet. What the fuck, Nightwalker? What did you just read? Klein nodded when he heard that as he said in a happy and relieved manner. I hope so. Having transmigrated here, he had been enveloped in uncertainty. Now it felt like he had finally dissipated. Oh boy, Klein, you have no idea what's coming for you, man. However, Klein was still feeling uncertain because the notebook seemed to be tied to him in a certain manner. It went to the point of him pumping into remnant clues coincidentally from a normal mission of rescuing a hostage. He was afraid that there will become a day where a delivery man will send him a parcel only to realize that it was Antigonus family notebook after opening it up. It's funny. Let's hope everything will go as old Neil described, he silently prayed. When old Neil heard his reply, he immediately scoffed. You don't seem to be a devout believer of the goddess. At this moment, shouldn't you be drawing the sign of the crimson moon on your chest and say, may goddess bless us? Neil noticed that he was praying. Mr. Neil, you don't seem like one either. A real devotee would not say what follows will be a brand new journey filled with sunlight. Having been studying mysticism under old Neil, Klein had established a decent friendship with him, so he did not stand on ceremony to return on a sarcastic remark. Both of them locked eyes and chuckled with a great rapport. At the same time, they tapped their chest 4 times. praise the lady. At that moment, they heard the grinding sounds of a machinery as the main door Blackthorn Security Company opened. The elegant Mrs. Oriana, with her fashionably coiled hair, stepped in the reception hall with the light green dress. I like Mrs. Oriana, dude. Good morning, Mr. Neal. Good morning, Klein. She held a small leather handbag as she gave it a smile. It's another fabulous day today. It's a pretty good day. Good morning, Oriana. You're still as beautiful as 10 years ago, replied old Neil with a chuckle. Oh my god, old Neil Ruiz. Let's go. Oriana's eyes turned to slits as she upturned her face. Mr. Neal, the way you praise me is still infuriating as 10 years ago. She enunciated the words 10 years. Is that so? Olkin looked at Klein confused. He wore a perplexed look. Never mention anything that will remind the ladies of their age. As a keyboard warrior that knew a little of everything, Klein instantly understood what had peeved Mrs. Oriana. He smiled lightly and said, Good morning, Mrs. Oriana. You're as beautiful as always. Oh, as always. Damn. Bro. Old Neil has Riz, right? He's very charming. I'm losing my voice. Holy. Thank you. I want to thank University graduate. Oriana smiled. A lot of humor in this chapter so far. Oriana smiled with a nod before saying, That old butler has already paid the mission commission. According to Captain's rules, half of it will be used as additional funds, while the other half will be split between you and Leonard. Between you and Leonard only? I thought it was like every member. But since you aren't an overall member, you can only take 10% of the half. Come over. Come on over later to sign for it. Does Leonard get £90 and him get 10 or what? O'Neill even had a fiance. What do you mean even had? What? It sounds surprising. I know you can rest if you want. I'll try to get to 55 and then. I mean, O'Neill has so much Reese, he had a beautiful huzz. Is that how you say girls these days? Huzz? Who has seen that TikTok of that like fat boy? I'm fat too, I'm not judging. Who like from like, I don't know, middle school was picking up girls? Don't forget to hydrate, thank you. His name is Bobby Reese. It's so funny. Sure, Haas is like a slur for woman. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know. £200. This was when he said back then, Lord, esteem... Wait, what? Sorry. How much did he pay? Klein asked happily while also feeling the pinch. £200. This was what he said back then. Lord, esteemed Storm, I never imagined or believed that this was resolved just like that. This is even harder than us having a dream. This is why your security company is so unknown. It's an insult to the entire industry. Miss Oriana mimicked the old butler's southern accent. Oh, I didn't know we had an accent. Klein thought seriously for a few seconds before saying humorously, It's just too unfair for those kidnappers. Oh. Two Beyonders had resolved the problem quickly using methods that could be described as easy and pleasant. It's like the adult pulling a few kids while full combat attire. True. Haas means hose? Oh! Haas means hose! What? I did not know that. Okay, I'm not gonna use it again. We don't call women hoes in this live stream, by the way. I'm just saying, we respect women. They were just too unlucky. They must have been lost the protection of the divine, said. They were just too unlucky. They must have lost the protection of the divine, said Oriana with a soft laugh. I told the butler that we were cloning lucky. One of our informants happened to see the kidnappers bring the child in the hideout, therefore do not have too much hopes for us. Really are just a very ordinary security company. Oh wow, so to stop spreading of the rumors, right? They don't want rumors to spread for the security company. Typically speaking, the more you emphasize something is ordinary, the more extraordinary it is. Klein lampooned with a smile. He watched Mrs. Oriana walk through the partition and enter the counting room. Klein lampooning is so fun, dude. Old Neil puckered his lips but decided and said enviously, "You really are lucky, lad. You haven't joined us for long and you encountered a job worth £200. Is that very rare?" Klein asked in puzzlement. Prior to this, he was either studying history or mysticism, or wandering aimlessly outside hoping to find clues with his spiritual perception. According to Oriana's accounts, you might not encounter a single job an entire week, and most jobs are worth less than £20. O'Neill rubbed the moonstone by his wrist and sighed. So does Leonard get £90 from that, or is it gonna be split between everyone? And Klein is gonna get 10%. Following that, he looked at Klein with anticipation. If you encounter any similar jobs in the future, remember to inform me. Upon hearing Old Neil's words, Klein suddenly felt a strange feeling arise in him. Therefore, he asked directly, "Mr. Neil, you seem to be lacking of money. How much do you get paid a week? If you aren't comfortable telling me, just ignore my question." Damn, we know why now. I was buying ingredients for the ritual. O'Neill leaned back into the sofa and chuckled. "This isn't something that is hiding. I've been here for so many years. At present, I will obtain salaries from both the church and the police department every week, a total of £12. Damn, a weekly salary of £12, Klein blurted out in a surprise. A weekly salary of £12 with 52 weeks a year, that means more than £600 a year. Back when he read the Dingens Morning Post and Honest Paper, they had mentioned the high-profile lawyers only had £800 to £1,000 a year, £1,000 a year, and those were the best lawyers. Damn, dude. As for managers of Benson Trading Company, they only earn £6 a week. That's already quite a decent job. Managers earn £6 a week? Damn, that's a lot. Yes, such a salary is actually quite generous, and we do not need to pay any taxes, added Old Neil with a smile. Damn, no taxes too. And I heard from Benson that one had to pay E-type tax when their weekly salaries exceeded £1. In other words, the government and corporate employees had to pay 3% of tax if they earned £1 to £2, 5% for £2 or £5, 10% to £5 or £10, 15% for £10 to £20, capping at 20% for those above £20. Holy shit! Based! Do you know why it's based? Taxation. What's it called? I don't know what it's called in English, but in Estonian I know what it's called. But it's the taxation goes up the more you earn. I think that's fair. Other than that, also read 4 other kinds of taxes on the newspaper. 8 types to land, housing, other earnings from material items, the property and rent. B type was tax paid by farmers. C type was tax on profits from bonds, funds and equities. D type was commercial, finance, and professional income. Something admirable, Klein echoed Old Neil. However, Old Neil shook his head. Such salary is insufficient over beyonders like us, who have to frequently study the hidden mysteries, practice and attempt rituals. Aren't materials obtainable via application? Asked Klein in puzzlement. Old Neil scoffed. There's a limitation to it. At times we have to give a sufficient legitimate reason. If you want to learn more and experience in the field of mysticism, you can only spend your own time to buy materials. It can be bought internally or at underground markets. Klein jolted in surprise and immediately asked, "You have beyond the materials that are sold in underground markets? I thought the churches will not permit their existence." He was lacking in means to obtain materials. Oh my god, so yeah, but underground markets don't mean black markets, right? The team having a mysterious organization in nascent stages, you could not always have them settled via the Night Hawks, right? There is no way to consult matters. Yeah, from the viewpoint of mysticism, all beings are sentient with their spirits and they stem from the same source. The materials we use are not limited to those extraordinary creatures. Also comes from ordinary animals, plants and minerals. For example, the poison hemlock, old mint leaves and the night vanilla in the bottle of syrup ocean. They're items that we can encounter frequently in their lives. They might not have any extraordinary characteristics, but they have special characteristics. Though concoction and blending, they will derive certain effects. Therefore, it is not a trade that in search can ban, explained Old Neil in detail. Without wanting for Klein to say a word, he continued. Besides, it's not only the core of extraordinary beings that are used of. For example, the lava squid, apart from its blood, its eyeballs, skin and tentacles are pretty good material, unless the church captures it entirely with its own manpower. To completely corner and control any outflows would be a tremendous financial burden. True. Market manipulation, right? The lower the grade the extraordinary material, the more it is so. They can only do their best to prevent the more special materials from flowing out. Only suddenly laughed. There's another important reason. It's better to know of any underground market than not knowing of it. Under the premise that secret organizations have not been fully eliminated, this is a pretty good strategy. Besides, it can help us obtain materials we are lacking. Of course, with the existence of such markets, contraband items will appear. As long as it's not something ridiculous or overly dangerous, we will turn a blind eye to it. At most, we will use them to enrich our vaults. Damn! In the donghua, it was a whole ass civilization. Yeah, anyone have seen Attack on Titan special episode? With Levi? They felt like underground like that. Is it because the few large churches put each other in place so no one can take excessive action? Client quest. All Neil acknowledged thirsty but did not elaborate. I'm a seer in the future. I'll definitely need to practice and will need more materials. Mr. Neil, can you take me to underground market to have a look? Clan requested with a valid reason. All Neil appeared to be placed in a difficult position. In fact, those guys who are active in those places are mostly not beyonders. Some of them might be aristocrats that like Mr. Rich people who have inclinations toward mysticism. Alright, I have 30-pound bill that needs paying soon. It won't be convenient for me to head over there for the time being. Alright, and never expected a reason to be old Neil's owning of money. A moment later he said with deliberation, Mr. Neil, do you need me to lend you money? It's just earned commission of £10. There's no need, I'll be able to settle it. Old Neil patted the sofa and slowly stood up. Age is truly an enemy that biological creatures can't fight. I'm exhausted from last night's watch. Yeah, revise that. I've been taught you later this morning. Read more documents. Tomorrow I'll teach you the foundations of ritualistic magic. By the way, talking about living old and biological, like Oldin was talking about how you can't, basically saying age is truly an enemy that biological creatures can't fight. Well, Isaac, I think is around sequence 3, 4 or something like that on the death pathway, and he is basically immortal, so he kinda did fight it, but I feel like living old, and I think like a lot of high level beyonders live to be older. Maybe on the corpse or death collector, the death pathway is a special case where maybe when you reach very high sequence you're gonna be immortal, but there's a characteristic there where you forget everything. So Isaac is like a empty boat on the sea, drifting nowhere, basically. Drifting to unknown location, and that makes me so depressed for Isaac, by the way. Anyway. Yeah. So, we know it's called Death Pathway from the donghua and from the videos we watched, right? Also, I think the Sleepless Pathway is called the Evernight Pathway. That's what Ince said, right? Or am I wrong? Don't answer me. I don't know if I'm wrong or not. Anyway, 1 second. Yeah, revise what I've taught you later this morning. Read more documents. Tomorrow I'll teach you the foundation of the ritualistic magic. Alright, Klein got up and bade him farewell by taking off his hat. When Captain Dunn did another turn at noon, Klein pretended that he was still searching for the notebook as he roamed the streets again. Having earned £10, he no longer needed to wait for the next disbursement of the funds. He could head directly to Divination Club. Cogitation and spirit vision have been occasionally producing murmurings and illusions. It made him eager to begin acting. I heard a debt collector. I need to clean my ears. I said death collector on accident. Death collector. I mixed corpse collector and death. Anyway, Hanas Vincent is the next title for the next chapter. Before we go back to Divination Club, which I'm going to do right now, I want to let you know that there's a poll going on. If you haven't voted, I'll show you. We made a poll last week asking what to watch next. So Apothecary Diaries won with 35%. Clap for Apothecary Diaries. Now, another poll I made. Monogatari, March Comes in Like a Lion, and Madoka Magic. I think Madoka Magic is gonna win. So on Wednesday, which is in 3 days, which is in 3 days, we are going to put Madoka Magica, if it wins, and Apothecary Diaries, which did win, a head-to-head battle in a poll, right? And that will determine the next show we watch. So if you haven't voted yet, go vote on the new poll. Anyway. Oops. Exposed. What did you see? Nothing. Okay. Also, look at this. I got 9 cents from a Prime sub. Wait, where is it? Yeah, 9 cents from a Prime sub. That's crazy. Anyway. Thank you for the 9 cents. Just 2 polls? Yeah. Right now we do just 2 polls because people weren't recommending me enough stuff in the comments. Anyway. Hanas Vincent. For now, just 2 polls. And the community grows, we're gonna do more. Soundtrack goes hard. You're welcome, mind you. What do you mean? Let's go. Hanas Vincent, the Divination Club situated in the 2nd floor of 13 House Street, North Borough of Tingen City. Klein saw the beautiful lady that attended to visitors once again. She was still having her brownish yellow long hair coiled, making her look mature and elegant, told her age. Hello, Mr. Clace isn't here today. Would you like to change fortune tellers today? Said this beautiful lady with a smile. Upon hearing that Klein was just taken off his silk hat and put it back on, was immediately surprised. You still remember me? That was already 5 days ago. Woman puckered her lips into a smile. You were the first customer that sought Mr. Clace's services. You're also one of this very day. It's hard for me not to have a deep impression of you. Was this an image of... I told you, bro, that Clace's had his first client was Klein. Was this image of him being Pennywise? Pound foolish? Klein lampooned himself as he delivered the question. That's funny. Pennywise. Pennywise. When was the last time Mr. Clace's came to the club? The last shot that glanced at him answered seemingly in location. The bond has been able to grasp when our members will come and go. There have been free will and personal matters to end to. Well, I do believe that Mr. Clace hasn't come to the club since he told your fortune that day. Damn! He's in hospital, I think. I wish him the best of luck. May the goddess bless him. Klein prayed and did not ask further. Instead, he asked with a smile. I'm not here for divination services this time. I plan to join the club. Also, this is 48, right? Yeah. Where are you guys from, by the way? Where are you watching me from? I'm curious. It's our pleasure. The lady expressed timely look on surprised delight. For the first year as a member, the membership fee is £5. It will be £1 a year after. I believe there's no need for me to describe in the details again. Turkey? Ooh, nice. Klein took a £5 note recently received as I watched Henry Augustus first portrayed part him. After seriously checking the anti-counterfeit watermark, the woman stored away the note seriously and handed a form to Klein. Please fill in your detailed information. Let me prepare the receipt for you. As a receipt, you should bill it to Blackthorn Security Company. Klein was amused by his own thoughts as he picked up a fountain pen on the desk. With the blackish blue ink, he filled his name, age, address, and company information. That's cool. However, he had deliberately left his date of birth empty. To a seer, that provided profound mystery about his body through his life path number. Wow. Damn. Also, do you like the music, guys? After receiving the receipt and finishing his registration as a member, the lady extended her right hand. Congratulations on joining Tingen City Divination Club. I'm Angelica Barenhart, your hardworking server. These are member cufflinks. There are special inscriptions on them which will identify you as a member. Hello, Madame Angelica. Klein shook her hand and took the dark old cufflinks. He realized that a special inscription was written with the root for the word fortune there in Hermes. Oh, damn. Angelica retracted her right hand and thought for a few seconds. Might I ask you what divination arts you are most familiar with, or would you prefer to learn some divination methods from the club? We will consider inviting famous fortune tellers of the corresponding domain to give classes. We will also introduce you members with similar expertise so that you can have the good time interacting with them. I know a bit of a divination art, there's no need to give any special considerations. Glenn replied with some embellishments. In addition, he inquired, can I begin telling the fortune of others? I'm not a total rookie. He was here to act as a seer, not learn divination methods, only people will learn. This is the most BL sounding stream ever. Problem? 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 Angelica maintained his polite smile as said, you can tell the fortunes of people anytime in the club. However, before we confirm your skills, we will not promote you. When our customer asks, how much do you plan on charging for your fortune telling? 2 pence, Glenn said to gain advantage with the price while it was still unknown. He will go by the standard taking an eighth, so he will be taking a quarter pence for fees. Angelica repeated the various rules with first before writing clients' information to the fortune teller album which customers will not choose from. Problem, I'm the only one thirsted after? Think so? There's probably oh no, we're not gonna say it, bro. After all of this was done, she pointed the meeting room at the far end of the corridor with a smile. Mr. Hannes Vincent is currently explaining astrolabe divination. You can find a quiet spot to listen in. You can also raise your questions if there's any queries. Alright, Ryan walked toward the meeting room with interest piqued. He wanted to know the difference between what Hannes Vincent and old Neil said. At that moment, Angelica chased up and whispered, Mr. Moretti, would you want coffee or tea? We provide Sipe black tea, Southfield coffee, and Tessie coffee. Klein, who had been reading the paper circularly, knew that these coffees and black tea were considered as one of the inferior varieties, but he also knew that they were definitely a better quality than the ones he had at home. After some thought, he said, a cup of Southfield coffee, 3 tablespoons of sugar, without milk, please. Long Kingdom Southfield was famous for its beer and red wine. Many important figures were found of them. However, their coffee was relatively unknown. Damn. Coffee lore. Tessie Bay, right? You have a skill issue? Alright, I'll send you in a bit. Angelica pointed toward the meeting room. When slowly walked to the half-closed door, I heard a voice in a thick Awa accent explaining astrolabe divination. What's Awa accent, guys? What will you compare it to real-life accents? Just make some stuff up. Astrolabe divination. No. Wait, let me think. Astrolabe divination is relatively more complex one among the divination arts. But that's only for ordinary people. Klein suddenly lagged on the sentence for the speaker. He saw about 5 tables in a circle inside the meeting room. It surrounded a middle-aged man in a black classic robe, one's son, Hannes Vincent. The gentleman had obvious dark circles, his brown hair was thick and hard, each strand strewed firmly like a porcupine spike. Oh, in the donghua it was like that too. Apart from that, there was nothing unique about him. Upon seeing Klein enter, Hannes Vincent nodded gently without stopping his class. He only slowed down his speech. Damn, Hannes knows him. Klein had one hand in his pocket while the other held his cane. He found a seat to the side and sat down, leaning back comfortably in the process. He scanned the circle of 6 members. There were 4 men and 2 women. Some of them were very attentively taking notes, whispering and turning Klein a rueful smile. After placing his cane down, Klein adjusted his half-top hat and tapped his lapella twice in the process. He cast his gaze at Hanas and saw the different colors, bright and thickness of his aura. Dark red is a little worried. Actually, every other part of his body is healthy except that part. I wonder what's wrong. Klein listened to the class while muttering to himself. At that moment, he clasped the right hand and covered his mouth to prevent his laughter from sounding. He suddenly felt like he was a quack. Why? He was rather pleased with the spirit vision ability, although he could only make a general judgment and not the details. It was enough to gain him such useful information. After surveying his surroundings, he tapped his scalpella twice again as he thought he was pondering over the Hanas just said. Oh, astral divination was one of the astronomy divination methods. However, ordinary people could also attempt to interrupt things. For instance, the most basic birth horoscope was to determine the inquirer's fate by determining the position of the sun, moon, blue planet, and scarlet planet at their birth. I guess the blue planet is Uranus, scarlet is Mars. Anyway, if I had to guess, but maybe planets are different in Lord of Mysteries world than they are in our Earth world. The corresponding spots in the sky matching the representative symbols of the astrolabe and the corresponding situations on the different constellations. Okay, this is why the fortune teller to be able to calculate the states of planets and constellations, which has rather complicated. Of course, there were publications that aided people to look up the values. Some even simplified it by making a vague red to just constellations. Klein listened silently without interjecting or answering any questions. From time to time, he would caress the hanging top of the sleeve or take a sip of the Southfield coffee which Angelica had brought in. After some time, Hanas rubbed his scalpella and said, "Perhaps you will need to attempt at creating your own astrolabe. Ask me if you have any questions. I'll be in Moonstone." After he left, a young man in white shirt and black vest got up and smiled and walked to Klein's side. "Nice to meet you. I'm Edward Steve." "Nice to meet you. I'm Edward Steve." "My pleasure. I'm Klein Moretti." Klein stood up and returned the bow. "Astrolabes are too complicated. Every time I hear about it, I can't help but doze off," said Edward deprecatingly. Klein grinned and said, "That's because Mr. Vincent can't help but pass knowledge he grasps to us. It's like giving us Intis feast. It's just indigestible." Damn, that's crazy. It's just indigestible. I'd be able to finish the Intis feast. They usually use a huge plate to serve any tiny bits of food. Like France? French food, right? That's so funny. Edward chuckled and sat up. He asked out of curiosity, "Are you new? I'm not saying you in 2 years I was here. I just joined the club today," answered Klein frankly. "What are you good at?" "I'm best at tarot club, poker, and poker divination," Edward casually asked. "I know a little of everything. But just a little." Klein gave us a description he used to give himself. Humble. But not really. He was not being modest since there was not much mysterious knowledge he had not grasped in the domain divination. Just as the other members were thinking of talking about horoscope divination, Angelica walked into the meeting room. "Mr. Steve, someone wants to tell their fortunes." "Alright." Edward stood up with a smile. "I can tell you are excellent fortune teller," said Klein as he looked at him. "No, it's because my price is most suitable," said Edward with a soft chortle. "When ordinary people come to have their fortunes told, they will absolutely not choose the most expensive ones, and unless they had their heads kicked by asses, they will definitely not be choosing the cheapest few. It's easiest to gain opportunities if you are in the middle." True. I'm one of those that had their heads kicked by asses when they saw Edward leave. Glenn suddenly shook his head with a wry smile. "I'm so down. What the hell?" What? End the fool? What do you mean by this, bruh? Oh, I'm the fool. I see. The fool man. Anyway, it seems the price you set is problematic. He stood up, picked his cane, and left the meeting room. He found Angelica again. "I wish to send the price of my divination set to 8 pence. Angelica took a deep look at him and said, "We will satisfy your request, but we'll also tell customers that you are only recently joined the club." "No problem." Klein did not mind as he noted. At times, mystery was also an important element for Seer to attract customers. After changing his details, Klein returned to the meeting room. At that moment, he saw Hanas walk out of Moonstone. He had a silver-coated mirror. Ooh, this is the mirror, guys. This well-known fortune teller said to the 5 members in the meeting room, "I recently learned a new divination art. Magic mirror divination. Does anyone want to learn? Magic mirror divination, that's not safe, line post outside the meeting room and frowned. Damn. Oof. Wow, okay, so meeting Hannes Vincent for the first time, there's no like sassy signs right now, but we know that Hannes is a sassy baka. Maybe we're gonna see more in the next episode or chapter. We're also gonna see Klein doing his first divination jobs, I guess, and we'll see what happens, right? Edward is a fucking nerd. Anyway. 49. Let's go. You have 6 bullet revolver, a little bit 6 bullets. Shoot the 6 bullets all at me, please. Divination art. As a seer who had just stepped through the gates of mysticism, Klein did not dare to claim he knew much. However, he was certain that he knew more than ordinary people. He was aware that the various kinds of divination arts could be split into 3 categories based on particular standards, and that standard was based on source of revelation. That first category of divination included tarot, poker, pendulums, dowsing gains, and dreams by using inquirer's own spirituality and its communication with the outer spirit world to gain a revelation. It could be interpreted for an answer. However, spirit pendulums and dowsing gains had a very high requirements of one's spirituality, soul body, and astral projection. Unbeyonders were unable to obtain precise or clear revelations. True, card divination provided fixed symbolism, presenting even an average person faint revelation. Dreams were somewhere in between in other forms. The second category included spirit numerology and astromancy, as well as their derived forms. Fortune teller used either the personal details of the inquirer or changes in nature before using calculations, interference, and interpretation to answer their questions. This method, the initiative did not lie in the inquirer but the fortune teller. Third category used an external third party separate from the inquirer and the fortune teller. The Ouija board the client was familiar with from the previous life belonged to the category. They used rituals to ask the direct answers from the unknown or the supernatural. Even though there was a high chance that an average person would not succeed, there were cases where they managed to communicate with... Damn, that's cool. Communicate with malicious... malicious spirits or entities that drove them to insanity. These methods of divination usually led to strategies. Damn. So we learn about how non-beyonders do divination. I like that. The magic mirror divination that Hannes Vincent mentioned belonged to the third category. In mysticism, mirrors were connected to the unknown and mystery, like they were the doors of the spiritual world. Thus, Klein stopped outside the meeting room intending to learn how the famous fortune teller would explain divination. Klein wanted to ascertain if he needed to inform the captain or not, raiding him at night. You should. Check his hard drives, guys. Of course, there was a safe way to do the magic mirror divination. One could ask for answers from the 7 orthodox divinities, even if it was very difficult for an ordinary person to receive any real revelations. There will not be any danger of suffering any after effects. Magic mirror divinations that were strictly controlled by the Nighthawks and mandated punishers were those that asked evil gods or mysterious existences for help. Furthermore, the fortune teller couldn't randomly fabricate things. Some phrases or qualities had the potential to invite the attention of unknown entities. In the world where the powers of the Beyonders exist, such divinations will often lead to tragedy. Klein even suspected that the original Klein, Welch, and Naya had committed such forbidden divination by following the instructions of the Antigonus family's diary. Yeah. Not really, it was the feather, but yeah, Klein doesn't know that yet. First, you choose a suitable time and date according to... at that moment, Hannes also explained the principle behind magic mirror divination and described the actual process. First, you choose a suitable time and date according to the divinity you believe in. You can decide this using astromancy manual. For example, astromancy manual. For example, we all know that Sunday symbolizes every night goddess. Interesting. For Sunday, it's the embodiment of rest. 2 to 3 in the morning, and then in the morning, 4 to 5 in the evening, and 11 to midnight are all related to the moon. Thus, they are controlled by the Evernight Goddess. Thus, fortune tellers pray to the Evernight Goddess and use magic mirror divination during these times on Sunday. Wow. What the fuck are you guys talking about? Await a good foundation, but Klein noticed slightly while using the half-closed door to the meeting room to conceal himself. Oh my god, he's being very cautious. It had to be said that the first 7 major churches keeping each other in check, some mysticism knowledge had indeed leaked. For example, many of the meanings behind the symbolism could be found in Astromancy manual. However, without the beyond potions or beyond their powers, ordinary people were unable to obtain the desired effects. What happened? Everything okay? Second, you must scrutinize the mirror carefully. It must be a mirror coated with silver. You place the mirror in the position representing the moon. Hanas demonstrated with the prop in his hand. No, what he needs now is spirit dowsing. First, choose a position and recite the phrase. This place is suitable for magic mirror divination. 7 times in your head. Then see which direction the pendulum turns. Clockwise for true, counterclockwise for false. Of course, you are asking for answers from a malicious supernatural entity. The position will not matter. Rather, it will depend on whether the entity is interested in answering your questions. Klein silently corrected him. At this point, he felt like a teacher listening on a lesson. Hanas Vincent could not hear Klein's mental musings as he describes the preparations in detail in normal tone. Oh my god, you guys are so annoying. Stop talking about spoiling, man. Talk about, like, discuss the novel with me without, like, I don't know, whatever. When the members finished taking notes, he continued explaining. After showering, confirm that you have thrown all your curtains and locked your doors. After that, light up a handle and place it in front of the mirror before sincerely praying into the divinity you believe in. Try to keep your questions simple, as there's no need for fanciful embellishment. After praying 7 times, pick up your mirror and gently toss it on the ground. Make sure to be gentle. Remember the way Chatter says that is revelation from the gods. I will tell you the main symbols in a second. By the way, I think Melissa's friend is in the audience listening to this, right? So Hanas will gift her the mirror, and she will do the steps that Hanas is right now explaining, and she will get fucked. Or possessed, sorry. Phew. This is orthodox magic mirror divination. Klein heaved a sigh of relief as he walked in the meeting room and sat back down in his previous seat. He finished the rest of his Southvale coffee in one gulp. So-called orthodox divination meant that it was possible to obtain revelations, but it was impossible to truly interpret it. And for beyonders who reaches this depth, they could look straight in the mirror to obtain clear information if they received a response. As there were many potential symbolisms after the shattering, Hanas thought for a long while. It was not done even when Edward Steve returned to the room after finishing his fortune telling. One did not ask what Edward did for the fortune telling or what method did he use, since it was an unspoken rule among fortune tellers. While acting as a seer, he naturally had to abide by it strictly unless the other mentioned it. I discovered that many a time our wait, is it Edward speaking? Okay. I discovered that many a time our interception is too vague, as though it's a meeting different requests, allowing different people to find a description of themselves from my interruption. Edward drank a mouthful of Siba black tea and said with a soft sigh, for example, those that encounter adversities and calamities will eventually see the light of hope. But no one knows when the light of hope will come. For example, a journey might not be very smooth sailing, but you will definitely arrive alive. The dead will not retort me. Damn. Hello, Hoplan. As he did not listen from the beginning, ignored Hanas' magic mirror divination class. Survival bias. Ooh, I was gonna say survival bias. That's so true. I declined with a smile. Survival bias generally meant that a lot of statistics would only include those who were alive and lucky. Okay, do you know a good example for survival bias? This is a good example for survival bias, right? So this is the planes that were shot, right? That came back without falling down, right? I think you guys know about this example. If you don't know, engineers were like, oh, we're gonna put fortifications on the spot that has bullet holes in them. But no, people were like, oh, you put the fortification on spots where there are no bullet holes in them, because those with bullet holes in those places, they crash, so they don't have any examples. You reinforce the parts that didn't get shot. Exactly. Yeah, so that's basically survival bias. Yeah, I mean, even the wiki page has this example as well. Yeah, the hypothetical pattern of damage of surviving aircraft shows locations where they can sustain damage and still return home. If the aircraft was reinforced in the most commonly hit areas, this would be a result of survivorship bias, because crucial data from fatality damaged planes was being ignored. Those hit in other places did not survive. In other terms, we need to enforce the other parts because they made the other planes unable to return. Anyway. Right, survival bias generally meant that a lot of statistics would only include those who were alive and lucky. The data will ignore the dead, therefore the result will be clearly biased. Right, Emperor Cell was really a philosopher, marveled Edward. Speechless Klein raised his empty cup and pretended to take a sip. Pretended to take a sip, oh my god. The members were fully immersed in the study of horoscopes and magic mirror divination. The entire afternoon, occasionally would also discuss with Klein and Edward. And when that happened, Klein will try his best to meet his duty as an informal member of Nighthawks. He will try hard to steer the topic away from anything related to beyonders and dangerous ideas. However, he failed at the thing he wanted to do the most. A few inquiries came, but none of them picked him to do the fortune telling. Perhaps I have to be more proactive in turning them. Should I use a few phrases like, you all plagued with bad luck, you have been unlucky recently, or nothing you will do will happen smoothly? No, there's nothing like a seer. With this in mind, Klein could not help but shake his head in self-deprecation. You should get a few few things first, few jobs like for free, and then, you know, the rumor will spread, you know, and then people can buy Klein. He picked up his cane, stood up, and left after everyone very well. At 5:30, Edward Steve put on his coat and was prepared to walk out the divination club when he suddenly saw a familiar figure. Good afternoon, Good afternoon, Claysis. Long time no see. He greeted with a smile. He saw his friend with similar interest as him, wear his usual formal suit with a black throat tie, front of his chest, and hung a monocle. Immediately following that, he noticed that his friend did not look well. Even his soft blonde hair looked dry. So, he has cancer or something, right? Good afternoon, Edward. Claysis with the hat suddenly used his fist to cover his mouth as he coughed a few times. Edward asked with concern, "You seem to be ill?" A very serious illness. It even turned into pneumonia. If it wasn't for my wife, who met an impressive apothecary and gave me a magical medicine, you would have probably had to visit me at the cemetery. Damn. Lizzie's tone was filled with lingering fear and joy. Lord, I can't believe it. You were so healthy previously. Look at you so frail now. I remember when I did divination with you, there were no signs that indicated that you would get serious illness. Edward waved his cane and said with an astonished sigh, "My own divination had the same result as yours. Perhaps we're not qualified fortune tellers. Besides," Gracie suddenly recalled the happenings on Monday as his expression turned abnormally serious. At that moment, the beautiful lady Angelica came over and bowed with a pleasant smile. At that moment, the beautiful lady Angelica came over and bowed with a pleasant smile. After exchanging greetings, she first showed concern for Claysis' health and provided some suggestions. Then she mentioned in passing, "Mr. Claysis, Mr. Moretti, who requested your divination services previously, has joined our club as well. The one that got to tell me this fortune?" Claysis' eyes lit up immediately. "Lord, where is he? He just left." Angelica and Edward were unable to comprehend Claysis' abnormal reaction. Claysis took 2 steps in agitation and said, "The next time he comes, please ask him when he will come if I'm not around." "Claysis, what happened?" Glacius, what happened? Did that Mr. Klein already do something to you? Asked Edward in puzzlement. Glacius raised his arm and stared straight into Edward's and Angelica's probing gazes. He said in excitement, he's very, very, very magical. Damn. He lowered his arm and said after using very thrice, doctor. Holy shit! Klein Clays. Klein is a great divinator? He's a great seer, right? Even though he has seer powers of Beyonder. He's the best seer there, right? Even though Hanas also has powers. Just need one loyal customer. We need just one loyal customer, Edward and Calica, to start spreading rumors so more people will come, right? Diviner. Not divinationer, you're right. Good. I have a vocabulary of a 3-year-old child. He's the only real seer. Yeah, I know, bro. But Hanas is also Beyonder, not a seer though. That's why he's the best. Also Seed. Anyway, great chapter. We are in the Divination Club now. We met Edward, who is like a little bit nerdy. Hanas was teaching Mirror Divination, which we know now why, because of donghua. And I think Melissa's friend was also in the group, but she wasn't mentioned. Her name was Elizabeth, I think. Anyway, 50. The peak 50, guys. The first 50. Where is the text? Let's switch up the music.